Good morning and welcome back to World Talks, as we're going to discuss the floods that recently swept through Central and Eastern Europe. As Poland is trying to cope with the effects of floods that devastated the southwestern part of the country, questions arise. Could this be avoided? If so, who is to blame for the lack of precautionary measures? To discuss, I'm joined here this morning by Tomasz Okruszko, University of Life Sciences, Warsaw. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So let me start from a scientific point of view. What were the causes of these floods, and how did major rivers such as Danube or other contribute to the flooding?
Yeah, so the cause of flood was known and forecasted to some extent as warm, moist air coming from Genuine Bay went north to our part of region, meeting the dry but cold air, and especially in the mountain area, getting a massive rainfall. We have to looking also on everything after. Remember that 400 millimeters per 4 days as we got into the mountains is a massive amount of water, and coping with that, it's as we saw, beyond the possibility of infrastructure, which is not prepared for such measures.
Right, and why this infrastructure was not prepared? Because there were projects of retention tanks to be created, various initiatives, but then they did not come into fruition. So my question is, who is to blame for that? And if these projects were realized, would they prevented the flood?
To be very general, first we have to blame the nature if we want to blame anything or anybody. We know, and it's not a Polish case, but worldwide, look on what is going in the South US, that we cannot be absolutely sure and flood-free regardless of our efforts for infrastructure, which is meant for flood protection. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't invest in that. And also the scale of losses shows that investments in the flood protection makes sense, the question is when it will pay back. But since 2000, in worldwide approach to flood protection, we use a risk approach, that we want to reduce risk. And maybe from wording, it doesn't mean fundamental, but it is fundamental change. Because what does it mean? We say we should work both on diminishing the hazard, this amount of water which comes, but also trying to avoid the losses by different measures which are on ground, in valleys, in catchment. And that's why the flood protection, diminishing the risk, is so difficult, because it is not to invest in hydraulic structures only, but also to prepare the flood-prone zones for being flooded, either by good spatial planning, removing as much as possible vulnerable goods from this area. The same means for the insurance, because as it might happen, we should be also prepared to pay back, to rebuild. So simple question, who to be blamed and how much we can avoid, believe me, it's very difficult to answer and be in truth. So, of course, the more we can retain water, the better. So if we have the reservoirs, if we have the polders, the chances to reduce the hazard is bigger, that's sure. But nevertheless, we have to be prepared for flooding also in the terms of rescuing infrastructure.
Right, and do you think that in the future these floods, potential floods, may get worse due to climate change and what's going on globally?
If we look on the data on record we have so far, we should expect this type of events to be more frequently. So we, as a hydrologist or meteorologist, we often repeat that flood itself, even in such scale, is nothing impossible. However, the probability of occurrence, the time we can meet it again, is increasing due to the climate change. We have the Mediterranean Sea, to be with this example of southern Poland, is the warmest on record. So the amount of moist air which goes and sometimes goes north is also bigger than ever. And preparedness for flooding is a part of our game to nature due to the climate change or in climate change conditions.
Right. And one of the questions that was raised in the aftermath of these floods is the fact that some buildings were erected in areas prone to flooding. So I wonder if moving forward, such constructions will be banned, that the permits won't be issued to create...
I hope so. I hope so, and it's not my personal belief, but professional approach. The more we can withdraw from the flood-prone areas, the better for ourselves. And of course, it is not to reallocate people, but to make all rebuildings in the safe area as much as possible. This will avoid the future's problems. And we see also, you have also broadcast number of relation, people referring to 97, the flood of 97, almost the same magnitude in some areas, especially in mountain part, saying, yes, we were flooded, and then comparing if it was bigger or smaller. So it means it is one of the first measure. Second, of course, infrastructure. The reservoir of Racibórz shown that if we are good with the infrastructure, it helps. So we should work both on infrastructure to reduce the hazard, special planning, a construction type in flood-prone areas to diminish, because I am afraid not avoid, losses.
Right, and we've been focused on Poland, so to speak, but isn't it a regional problem? Because, of course, we had
yes.
Czech Republic, Romania and other countries affected, but it sort of has a domino effect, right? I mean, as the water was moving from the Czech Republic through Poland.
Yeah. So, yes. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, yes. I wanted to ask if we should, if there should be some form of a regional cooperation on this.
Yes. However, we have to remember that two first countries hit by this flooding condition, Austria and Slovenia, are in Danube catchment, and they have quite cooperation. Czech Republic and Poland are in Odra catchment, and this transboundary issue, especially in the terms of reservoirs operation and reservoir safety, is international issue for the international catchment. And in the regional scale, we should improve as much as possible forecasting. I think, being professional also in 97, that it has significantly improved, but still the not only timing, but also more precise amount of water might be forecasted, and we should work on this again with the investments.
Right. So, if we were to sort of round up what we just said, what we said thus far, what can be improved moving forward to make sure that the next upcoming possible potential flood does not have such a devastating effect on Polish territory?
So we should play on both hands if we compare it to the piano game. So on the infrastructure side, to increasing the retention capacity, and that's what is often the first to be mentioned, invest in hydraulic structures, but also on the second, to review flood-prone areas, either if we focus there with rebuilding, in also investing in the infrastructure which is more resistant to the floods, especially I talk about the bridges, about the higher scale of taking the water through, and as much as possible not to rebuild the housing, to offer not only the package of money, which is must, but also the possibility to move a bit further, bit away from the flood zones. So two measures which are easier to say than implement, and it's not only the Polish case.
Right, and the question of implementation really boils down to politics. So I wonder, do you think that the scientific community, which you represent, can do more to convince politicians to take action? Because it seems that the knowledge was there, but the action was not.
I hope so. We have to stress that scientific community through world or through Europe, if we are in our region, tries to show that flood protection is not the water management problem only, that is cross-sectorial. And that's what it makes the most challenging, that we have to cooperate also in the government between the different departments as to be effective. The other thing which we try also to give to the politician as a key message is that investment pays back in 5, 10, 20 years. Maybe the ruling party in one or other country is not the ruling party in 10 years, but the investments pays back for the society. So we have to get this long-term planning, which is beyond the, I would say, election calendar. That's very challenging, not only for Poland.
Absolutely, absolutely. Of course it is. One last question that has been on my mind, and it sort of is a little bit off topic, going back to the scientific dimension. What about the natural coverage, the sort of plants, forests? Why are they so important? Because they've been mentioned as an important factor in preventing floods from happening. But if you could just clarify for me, how does that?
Yeah. We say, being on hazard side, that we have 3 parts where we can reduce the amount of water. First is the landscape, what we call the catchment, that we get as much as possible water in the depression, in the ponds, in the soil especially. The more hilly landscape, the more difficult it is. That's the first measure. Second, in the river valleys, where we try to do either polders, which I think are very effective, or the water reservoirs, which are more expensive. And the third, the safe flow through the areas in the prone zone with the hard infrastructure to be reduced, to reduce the losses. So this catchment retention is the first to take. It has enormous importance because, have a look, we have flood in south west, and we have drought, highest on the record, in north east, 500 kilometers difference, and we have the 2 absolutely big in scale but different hydrological challenges. So it's not only a question to take water fast out of the place, but also to return, to increase our safety in the terms of the drought.
Right, absolutely. As natural equilibrium is crucial, and unfortunately, we as humans have contributed, right, to the lack of thereof.
To some extent, yes.
Tomasz Okruszko, thank you, sir, for being with us this morning. Much appreciated.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And on this note, we conclude World Talks, but please stay tuned for more here on TVP World. News Bulletin coming up at the top of the hour.